Going live. I'm gonna check my audio right quick. Check. Live. I'm gonna check. Yep, I hear it. Good. What's up? Make sure my chat's working. Chitty. Chat. Sorry, I have a really loud keyboard. That's how I roll. Sorry. First off, what's up, John? What's up, Mark? What's up, Pepe de Augustine? SoCo 20754. Anyways, welcome. My name is Jackson Robinson. I am a playing card designer. If you don't know who I am, if this is your first time ever seeing me, I'm sorry for this. That's just how it goes. There's my pen. Welcome. First off, I've got a thunderstorm, a raging thunderstorm right now outside my window, so you may hear some rain and some thunder, that kind of thing. But anyways, I'm just going to kind of move my logo. It's right over the top of my subscribe thing. Put it up there and shrink it down a little bit. Boom. Anyways, what I'm going to be working on tonight is, if you've been following my stuff lately, first of all, I design playing cards, and I have a deck that I'm working on called, well, the working title is Robin Hood. I don't see why it wouldn't be called Robin Hood. It's a good name. But I'm going to be working on a deck of cards that is inspired by the story, but artistically, it is going to be, the deck is inspired by, I don't know if I don't know, I think it's pronounced Bayou. It's French. I think it's French. I probably should have done a little bit more research, but it's Bayou. It's called the Bayou Tapestry, and I think Bayou is a city, but it's called the Bayou Tapestry. I don't know that much about it in terms of, like, you know, I know what it is, and I know that it's a really cool tapestry. I'll show you some pictures. Let me see here. Let me share my screen here. Let me just come over here and share this so you guys can see it. This is an image. These are some images of the Bayeux Tapestry, and this is from the 11th century. And basically, this tapestry was basically like 11th century comic book. You had these little panels that had illustrations of something that was happening at the time, and then the word at the top explained what was going on. And the story of this is basically telling the story leading up to the Battle of Hastings in 1066. And these are just some of the images. Like, this is one of the battles. Here's some other images. You see here. Also, if you have any questions, I'm watching the chat. I'm not going to be just keep asking if I don't ask it, but I'll try to answer them as I'm working. But these are just some of the images. Like, this is like Rex means king. This means the fall. Let's see, something the fall. This guy's falling to his death. I think this is one of the kings that's falling. But anyways, long story short, this is a really cool tapestry that was made in the 11th century. This is the king right here, King Harold. You can see King Harold, and this is a really cool. Frame. This is the very, very beginning of the tapestry. And one thing I wanted to point out about this is the king right here, getting told what was going on, and you see these guys over here pointing up at the stars, pointing up at the sky. If you can look at this thing right here, this is actually one of the first recorded times that Halley's Comet was recorded, is these guys over here pointing up to Halley's Comet. So that was just a really cool thing. But anyways, this is a really cool piece. I love the art style and how that they would create these pictorial illustrations and stories and told the story just using needlepoint and thread. And some of you guys may or may not recognize this, but this is the tapestry itself. It's a good question. I think the tapestry itself is 240, 250 feet long, so it's really, really long. And long live the Normans. I don't think that the Saxons would like that as much. But anyways, it's really cool. You guys may recognize it. You may not. If you grew up one of my favorite, I remember when I was a kid, was the Kevin Costner movie, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I remember that was like the first movie that I went and saw like multiple times when I was a kid. But I mention that because this tapestry is the tapestry that is featured in the beginning credits of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So when you hear that song, dun, 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 well, that beginning song with the credits, the tapestry that they're showing during that time is this tapestry. So, anyways, that is the inspiration for the deck, and that's kind of what we'll be working for. Let me. I'm gonna open up my Little John. Let me see here. I'm gonna open up my Little John card so you can see it. Just so I kind of show you where we're gonna end up and head to. If I can just sort through my horribly organized files here. King's Wild Shorts. Okay, here we go. Robin Hood cards. Little John. All right, so this is. Let me let it open up here. So this is the Little John card, and I'm going to zoom in here. And you can see the little threads, the Little John thread, the Little John name. And some things I want to point out is just kind of design elements is if, I don't know if I closed them. Did I close them? So if you notice these pictures, all of the pictures have like if you look up here at the top, they all have like text and stuff that kind of go along with. I mean, they're basically comic books, and so that's one of I think. And the text that's at the top is very, very important to tell what's going on down here, and I think that that's important, especially because my cards are inspired by that, and so all of my court cards are going to have the words of the character on there. So that's just kind of that. I have not done the back design B-Dog yet, but it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to have two circles. In my head, it's going to have two circles, and those two kind of mirrored circles are going to be, shooting targets. It's going to have bows and arrows and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be cool. But anyways, this is kind of where we'll end up. This is Little John. We're going to be working on the Sheriff of Nottingham. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show you my process and how I kind of make it look like stitches. This is very, very high res in terms of print res, but I work at 8. I work at 8 by 10 by 600, so it's not going to be near this high res once it goes to print, but once it shrinks down, it'll look tasty. This is all going to look really, really nice when it gets printed. So I'm going to close this because it's a large file. All right, so the first thing I'm doing, this is my blank canvas, and the way that I'm approaching these cards is what I do is I'll sketch a line drawing of the design, and I'll kind of get it what I want, and then I'll go back and then I'll create the base stitch work for the line, and then after I've created like the base line work for the stitch work for the line work of the main figure, then I'll go back and use photo reference, actual photo photo images of scanned fabric and stuff like that from either, like stitches. I'll show you my fabrics. I've got them all open up right now. And the cool and the thing about it is I kind of pick specific fabrics and specific stitches, embroidery stuff, so that I could create a color palette. And so if you'll notice, this is the fabric that I've got for like black and dark grays. I don't really have any black, but I have this is what I use for like dark, basically black or dark gray, is this fabric here. And then I've got a few different browns. I've got this image of, it's like a scanned image of like a really tight grained leather. This image right here is like a really broad stitched hemp wool, very similar to the fabric that they would have had at this time period. Wool, hemp, that kind of thing. And so this scanned texture is basically my workhorse in terms of like a lot of the base colors, and you'll kind of see how I use it. Then I've got this really bright, tight woven gold that's like metallic gold that represents like gold. Also, now that you'll see in the chat, Kingswell Project is answering. That means Parker, my man Parker, is on the line, and he's going to help answer these questions. So this is my gold texture, and then I've got kind of another. I haven't used this one yet, but I thought it was interesting because it wasn't as bright of a gold, but it had this kind of cool, what I thought was pretty time period correct. I don't know. Then I've got this green fabric. This is one of my green fabrics. This is my other green fabric that I've got here. And then I've got a red fabric. And so that's kind of what I'll do is I'll draw the line work. So why don't I just shut up and start working? So, and then I'll kind of show you how I do the stitches and stuff like that. How I make it look like stitches. That's just Photoshop black magic, kind of basically. So I'm gonna make me a new layer on top. One thing, I'm gonna open up this reference before I start drawing and just kind of show you. They all have these. The way that they illustrated these kind of helmets and armor. They had these really pointy helmets. You can see the pointy helmets, and these really like these big circles were kind of their way of representing chainmail. And so I'm basically just going to make it up. I'm going to take reference of just images that I've seen and being familiar with those kind of things. And then, yeah. So basically, when I do this kind of thing, I want to make it look very rudimentary in the way that I'm drawing, because that's the way the style was. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to tell the story. So it's kind of finding a balance. So I'm going to, sorry if I'm getting a lot closer, but that's, I'm just going to, so with the Sheriff of Nottingham, some of the things that I want to make sure I get across are, he'll probably have a sword. He's going to have, in my head, he's going to be kind of standing like this. Like maybe with this hand, he's got like a money bag collecting taxes. And then this hand, maybe he's like juggling gold coins or something. I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm going to go from. And he's probably going to have like maybe one of those pointy hats. I don't know, those pointy helmets. I don't know. And the Sheriff of Nottingham is going to be the King of Diamonds. So traditionally, the King of Diamonds is a one-eyed king. So I probably will do something like that too. So basically, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to basically draw. I'm just going to start drawing the. I'm just going to start sketching really. And when I'm doing this, I'm just kind of blocking in what I'm thinking. And I'm kind of using that style. And they have like these pointy noses that kind of look like this. And then let's see here. Let's just put in one of those helmets. And I'm always going back to look at the reference just to, so I'm just kind of looking at this kind of stuff where they have this pointy helmet and they have, you know, like this cross beam. So I'm just kind of looking at those for reference. This guy, look at this guy's mustache right here. It may be hard to see, but he's got this big mustache. Why would you use a spoon? Because it's dough, you twit. It will hurt more. That was a horrible, horrible British accent. And they would always have these nose guard pieces that would poke out like this. Let's give the Sheriff of Nottingham one of those sweet, sweet mustaches, because why not? He's going to be frowning because he's mean. He's a mean guy. And then let's furrow his brow a little bit because he's the sheriff. And like this stuff is like very, very crude, very, very rudimentary, but that's the way it was kind of drawn. And it's very rough at this point. And I'm just kind of locking it in. Not locking it in, but roughing it in. Let's make his helmet a smidge. Let's make his helmet a smidge wider. Let's see. Let's bring his chin, his jawline up right here. And this is kind of how they did the ears. They would have like the jawline come up, and then the jawline would create the inner part of the ear. Then let's give him a little ratty mullet. Little ratty mullet. Because that's what the sheriff would have, is a ratty mullet. Or maybe it's part of like the chainmail. Got some sideburns. Booyah. We'll just work it out. Let's see here. Then make his neck. And so our sheriff is going to have... so I'm just going to... From now that I got his head blocked in, I'm going to just think about how I'm going to do this. I need to make... There's my midlines, and anytime I get a major piece, I'll go ahead and duplicate it and flip it over to the other side, because I always want to be looking at how both sides are interacting with each other. And so here's what I'm thinking. I don't know why it zoomed in all the way. Let me zoom out. So what I'm thinking is I could do a few different things. I know what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. He's going to have this hand over here holding the bag of gold, and then this hand is going to be crossing his body. He's going to be holding his sword, and it's either going to be holding up in front of him, or it'll be crossing his body. I like the idea of it crossing his body, because any time that it creates kind of like a flow from one side of the card to the other is always a good thing in my book. So basically I am going to just rough in his shoulders. He'll have a neck piece like this. This arm is going to come up, and they didn't really have elbows when they drew these. They just kind of made these weird looking, they kind of gave him a little bit of a point, but it was all very, 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 very simple. Let's give him like some kind of forearm pad or something, because you know he's the sheriff and he's gonna have, I'm gonna go back, and they had, the way they drew their hands were really long, and so I'm gonna bring it in a little bit because I need room for the bag. So I'm just gonna rotate his arm a little bit in. Let's draw his cuffs. And then let's do like a little pointed greave. Is that what you call those? I don't know what you call those. Like, what do you call the forearm thing? Is it a greave, or I don't know. And so we're gonna have the seam down the middle, and then maybe we do like a fun design like this that allows us to create just different, because I have to think about this as I want to be able to create blocks of color so that I can put in these different fabric textures, and that's what's really going to make it pop and good. Let's give him like an elbow patch, because why not? He's got an elbow patch. Sure, that sounds good. And then here's what I'm thinking. We'll have his funky little hand come up like this, his thumb, and then they would have like really long, let me show you some images, see if I've got some of the image here. Like, look at these funky fingers. They would always have like these really long palms and then these really kind of weird looking fingers. And I want to keep that because I think that that's part of it. Like there's a good one right there. Really wonky looking. I love it. So weird. But that's kind of what I'm going for. So I'm going to, thumb's a little bit too big. So let's make it kind of more thin and spindly. Bring the fat part of the hand. And then from here, I'm just going to draw the top of the bag like that. Maybe make a little thing where I can use like a gold, like it's a drawstring in the bag. I don't know, but it'll be a good place to put the really shiny gold, I think. And then the money bag like this. And then we'll just erase some there, and this is kind of where you get those really long, kind of funky fingers. And then I've been drawing the pinkies popping up like that. And this will be good too, because I'll be able to do a nice line here, and then maybe we've got some coins flying like this, kind of like that. Maybe they did just have huge hands. I don't know. Maybe they did have huge hands back then. And then this is kind of what I'm talking about with the sword. He can either have it. I'm going to just draw two different versions. And you guys, I want to make sure that I remember that up here is going to have, I want to make sure that I leave room for the, the king of diamonds. And then I'll probably have his, sheriff. So I'm probably going to go across the body with the sword. And so from here, I'm going to come down, and it's going to come back up like this. I'm going to repeat that kind of greaves thing here. And then here's the middle line right there. So I don't want it to converge in the middle, because then it'll just be one long blade. So what I may do first is draw the sword. Let me draw the sword to where I want it, and then I'll draw his hand. Go back to reference. I want to make sure that I don't overdraw something. So I'm just kind of going back. So basically swords were very simple. So like this right here, I'm just going to take this. Sometimes when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I'll have a tendency to really want to overdraw, and I'll end up making it look too good, especially for this. And then and if I made it look too good, it would start to feel out of place. And so I really want to make it feel like that original thing. So I may put a slight bend to the hilt like this. That's not the hilt, but the cross thing. Here's and then just the nice kind of a crusader style sword with a simple pommel. And then if you can see it, just like a straight, I mean, it's pretty, there's not much to it. It just kind of comes down like that. And it's really not even that sharp. It would just be kind of like a rounded top. So I may add like just something like this just to add some of my own flair to it. But I'm just trying to keep it really simple. Obviously that's huge, so I'm going to yeah, I tell you what, that the Disney Robin Hood, man, that is one of my favorite all-time Disney cartoons for sure. I would say that it is my favorite all-time Disney cartoon. All right, so I'm just kind of placing the sword where I want it, and then now I'm going to, oops. Now I'm going to draw. I don't want to keep pushing that. I want to. Now I'm going to draw the hand and the arm up to that. Up to that arm, up to that sword. So I'll start here, elbow, and then the forearm like this. I could probably come over a little bit, give a little bit more room, and I just kind of watch it down here. I don't want it to cross his neck. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit, back up this way. Yeah, that feels good. All right. So, yeah, that's going to feel a lot better because I'm going to be able to bring his elbow out a little bit further. That his bicep is way too long, so we're going to bring it back a little bit. Forearm. There we go. Feels good. Let me beef it up a little bit. Give him a meat on the back side. Like that. Pull it up just a little bit. Now I got to think about how this would look. He's going to be like this. So I always got to think about it. I'd probably draw it like this where, you know, it's kind of coming like this. So his hand's going to be coming over the top. So I'm going to bring back the opacity of the sword just so I can see what I'm doing. Let me clean this up. And then it would be like that. And then your funky little curved fingers that have no knuckles. And then for this, one thing that I've seen with the reference is a lot of times they'll have like two fingers, like they would hold something like this. And so I'm going to come here and do something like that where maybe we'll see. Make them a little bit more pointy. Index finger up like that maybe, and then the back of the hand comes like this, and then we can draw the thumb. Let's draw the thumb a little bit more pointy like that. That feels good. I like that. And then just draw the rest of the stuff like I had on the other one. Keep an eye on my time. I gotta hurry up. I'm spending way too much time yakking. Alright, and so from here I want to just clean up the body. Give him more of a bicep, more shape. I have never worked in Procreate. I actually don't work on a Mac. I give Parker a hard time because I'm not really a Mac guy. I used to be a Mac guy, and then I realized that it really didn't make a difference, and I could save thousands of dollars, but that's a conversation for another time. All right, so I think for his chest, you know, his chest, I'm probably going to do something like, I'll just do a simple. When I do it, when I do the torso, I'm going to create one line on this side right here, and then I'm going to duplicate that line like this, flip it over, and that'll just kind of tell me how far it's coming over. So I know that if I'm going to have this line here, I need to move this arm over a little bit just so it's not I need to move the sword. I need to move the sword and the hand over a little bit. Let me just get rid of some of this, just so I can see what's going on. Now I'm going to take the sword and the arm like this, and I'm going to rotate them up, not that way. I'm going to rotate them up a little bit to about right there. I'm just going to stretch it just a little bit. There we go. Now that frees up this line to like terminate in a natural place over here. And so now that I've got that, I can come back over here and draw the connecting line there. So he's kind of got some girth on him. So now I've got those lines in the right place. And so what we'll do here is I'm just thinking of how I'm going to do the color spots, like the color blocks of color, like I was talking about. And so what we'll do is we'll do a band here, and then we'll break this up into different colors like that. And then maybe I'm just really basically just thinking about shapes of ways that I could break up the color and make it just visually interesting. And so from there, maybe I'll have like a panel, like a breastplate. They wouldn't have like a full breastplate metal. They would just have more like plates of leather and stuff. So maybe we'll have some like, this was a very common style armor at that period of time, where they may have metal, but it would just be in like these very like small rectangular plates. And then I'll just break it up with these different shapes that I can put as different colors, kind of like that. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm feeling good about that. I'll probably add a strap, so just something to go across his body. And so I'm going to just take all this stuff, except this lower head, delete it. I'm going to take all of this stuff, merge it into one layer. I'm going to duplicate it and then flip it over. And so, feeling good about that. I'm going to just move it over a little bit, match it up to where I want it. Oops. Now what I'm doing is I'm just checking things to make sure, because you never know what happens when you mirror stuff over, because some things, like if these elbows touched, it would have kind of created this kind of weird tangent. And so what I may do is take this whole arm here and kind of rotate it up a little bit higher, maybe even move it up a little bit higher. Now what that'll do for me is I just go ahead and duplicate it again and pull it over. Oops. Need to make sure that my bottom layer is centered. So take this. Like that. See, that's much better. That gives it more room right here, and it's not really creating like a tangent. And then I'm going to merge these two together, center that up on the canvas. And then what I might do is I may rotate it just a smidgen, technical term, smidgen, like this. And then I'm going to shrink it just so it's not as close and as tight to that outer part. I feel good about that. Now I can go back and add other stuff. I think what I'm going to do now, looking at how this stuff meets, I'm going to add a belt of some sort, because he's got to have a place for the, I keep thinking the Disney cartoon. He's got to have a place for the money bag and the keys that they steal to get out. So I'm just going to create a belt of some sort, and it'll also create kind of a visual interest. So I'm going to start like right here. I don't want to draw in white. Start right here, and then come over And I'm just going to draw half. And then like this. And maybe he's got some like cool, you know, studded, I don't know what his belt looks like. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to flip that over. I don't know why. Gotta get this centered up. Okay. Duplicate that belt over. Now I can go back. Now I know where my mirror points are, so I can go back to this top part and draw the rest of the belt and match it up with those mirror points. Like that. And then I should have done the same thing. I'll just guesstimate. And then I'll delete it. Duplicate it. And then bring it over. Like that. Looks good. It's nice asymmetrical. Gives visual interest. Complete that up. Yeah, I like that. Now I can go back and just erase this stuff. And then I think I'm going to add like, almost like he's got his pants coming up out of the thing. And also just to break up this. So I'm going to come in here again, add a new layer, and then just add like this ruffled edge thing. I don't know what it is. It's just like it's holding his pants up, bro. You know, it's the sheriff. And it's just going to be another opportunity for me to put in a different band of color. And that's what is really going to make this look good. So I'm going to duplicate that, flip it over. Yep, like that. It's good. Now let me just erase all this other stuff that I don't need. I don't need this stuff. I'll keep that, keep that, keep that. Need that part. Do the same over here. Just clean it up. I just need, this is just more for clarity for myself as I start drawing. Oops. The sword needs to go behind that, so I'll just remember that for next time. So this is going to go behind the sword. Like this. Like that. Alright. Alright. I think I'm ready to start stitching this bad boy. Okay, make everything 100%. Just take a look at it one more time. Merge all this yip yap. Yeah, I feel good about that. It's going to look good. Alright, so I'm just going to bring down the opacity. Let me see if there's any... Ooh! How about a gem in the middle of the buckle? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a gem. Like a ruby. Something we can do. Because this will all be gold. And let's put like a gem. I like that. Let's do this. Let's make it like a hexagonal ruby or something. Bam. 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 That's a stop sign. That's alright. That'll work. Ooh, that'll look cool. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I like that. That'll be good. Alright. One thing I want to add. He's going to have chainmail. His sleeves will be chainmail. So what I want to do is I want to just add like a sleeve that I can make chainmail like this. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Add that same sleeve here. And what it'll be is like this will be those big rings that you kind of saw on Little John. The big rings right here. Yeah, and that'll be a good that'll be kind of a good breakup in texture as well, which will end up be good. Okay. I can hear you screaming at me. You're like, Jackson, let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. Quit yakking and let's do it. All right, so now I'm going to get into the stitching part. So basically, I've created these different layers, and they're pretty simple. It's just using layer styles and textures to where basically I get to draw like I normally draw, but then it makes it look like stitches. So like, for instance, like here's my brown stitches, gold stitches, brown, other brown stitches, dark brown, dark black. So let's look at my brown stitch right here. So I'll just zoom in, and what it does is it puts like an overlay texture, it overlays a texture, and it creates like a bevel and emboss, has a drop shadow, all kinds of good stuff. So basically, I just sit here and do every stitch by hand, and I try to go with these holes in the texture so it makes it look like what I'm doing, and that's it. So let's do it. So I just take this drawing, and now I'm going to make sure that my thing is on the bottom because I want it in the bottom because I want my stitches on top. Now, it doesn't have to be spot on the holes in the thing, but when I can, I like to do it that way. Let me just make sure I'm on the right layer. Okay. So basically, I just start drawing, and I do every stitch, and I just draw with the stitches. And I don't try to make them perfect. I don't try to make them the same size. I try to make them all a little bit different. That way, it actually feels like it's done by hand, and it's got some variety to it. My computer is super laggy when I'm doing these layer styles and streaming live, so I apologize if it's super laggy. And then I'll draw his ear, and the good thing about it is from here on out it may be boring, but to me it goes really fast because this part, the hardest part is just figuring out the composition, and from there it's just me kind of like, I always talk about it like I feel like I'm just coloring a coloring book, and it's just, I mean, I have a blast. I love doing this. And just zoom out every once in a while, and I basically do everything with this brown because I want there to be continuity. I may do his beard. We'll do his beard in this color too. No, so like I want to do his mustache in black, so I just go back up to one of my black stitches. I have a black stitch layer that's already set up. It's really just a dark brown, but it's already set up, and all I have to do is start drawing, and it creates that black stitch. And I can't overthink it, because if I overthink it, then it starts to not look like the originals. So, and that's really what I want to do. So now I'm just drawing, just kind of drawing. This is hair. And what I do is I'll draw one line to create the line work, and then I'll go back and put a second holding line on the outside of the figure just to give it a little bit more oomph. And in terms of this being like some special brush, it's not a special brush. I would say 98% of everything that I draw with a hard point round brush, and that's the same thing with this. Now it's got a little bit of it's got a little bit, I mean, this obviously has some of the like layer styles and stuff like that, but it's just very, very simple. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like this. It's so fun to do because I don't have to worry about all kinds of like with the Lord of the Rings stuff that I'm doing. That's super hard, and like I really have to like concentrate because it's so much of it's like rendering and drawing and drafting and stuff like that. And so This is just straight up. I mean, I have a blast doing that because I love drawing, but it's definitely a different level of stuff. Uh, and to give you to show you kind of what I'm talking about, that holding line is I have another like brown layer that's the same color as the other one, but it's just a different layer so that the bevel and embossing layer styles don't interact with each other, and so it kind of creates this depth to where it feels like there's two layers of stitching. And I only do this second outer one on the outside of the figure, and it just kind of gives a little bit more weight, and it also kind of hardens that edge visually. And so I'll just create this holding line. And I don't want these lines to be straight. I don't want these stitches to match up. And so I'm kind of deliberately, like this was a little bit longer, I may make a shorter one. I may make one kind of go off like that. I think it adds, I think all that kind of stuff adds to, to make it look authentic in terms of the style of what I'm going for. All right, so looking good. Let's go down to here to his little this thing. Let me put the holding line here on his neck, because that's definitely going to be a very stark difference in. So I'm going to give him like this little band around his collar that we can have a cool color. And I'm just watching out where that sword's going to be. What's my time? 10:15. Okay, we're good. And I'm sorry if this part's boring, but this is the way I'm doing it. So create that piece there. Start coming around here. His sword's going to be right there, so I'm not going to draw his sword brown because it's going to be metal. So I'm going to use a black for that, because I want to keep kind of like my soft goods and organic stuff having a brown outline, and then anything that's like metal or chain mail will have the black outline. And I can just go to my black layer like I did before and just draw that in right here. I'm going to put the black layer on top so it overlays. Like that. I'm kind of glancing over there at questions. If you have any questions, you guys are voting on a coloring book or something like that. Parker and I were talking about a coloring book. I think it'd be sweet, especially if you can buy with the back to school deck or something. So I'm going to keep make a nice little point on there. And this is exciting. Me doing every stitch one at a time. I love it. It's so relaxing to me for some reason. And then to do this little channel, I'm going to do these like embroidered stitches like this. I'm going to purposely make them not straight. I'm just going to create this channel with these kind of horizontal stitches. Control S. I do like to crochet. I've done it. I did a lot. My mom was an economics home economics teacher, and so she had all that kind of stuff. So she taught me how to sew, crochet. I mean, it's just like using line work. I mean, it's all it is using line work to create a design. And I mean, that's something that I love to do. And so those kind of things, that kind of style of stuff, I really enjoy it. So I'm just going back and making these designs. This little pauldron? No, I can't. I don't know. I should probably learn all the different names of armor pieces. I feel like as a fantasy nerd I should know that, but I don't. I'm just going to back out and take a look at it. It's looking good. It's looking good. I'm liking it. Alright, from here, let's go jump over to his hand. And this part will come in like this. Fat chubby part of the hand coming around like that. Put his thumb in there. Now with the hands, I haven't been putting the double holding line, only because it just makes the hands feel too it just makes the hands feel clunky, and I want the hands to kind of still remain. I don't want them to be clunky, so I'm gonna go in, go back and make sure I'm on a different layer here. Good, good. There we go. Put that double holding line in there. Questions? No, no questions. We're still good over there. Maybe mint some coins to go with it. That would be awesome. You know, I could do that. I'm good friends with the Shire Post Mint. They could actually mint some. That actually is a cool idea. I mean, I'm definitely gonna do that with Lord of the Rings, but I hadn't thought about doing that with subscription decks, only because I mean, literally the margins are so thin because I'm printing so few, and I don't know, whatever. I'm definitely gonna do that with the Lord of the Rings though. All right, so now I'm just gonna kind of gonna work. I have to, because my drawing is so loose, I just kind of have to. Sometimes I have to just work some of this stuff out as I'm drawing it. I'm gonna do one long stitch for these, and then draw this part, and then these will be stitches like this, and those can all be different colors. And then I'll do the chainmail with a different. I've got a light gray stitching thing that I do for the chainmail. Draw the sword. Now I've already drawn the blade, and so I don't have to draw the blade. I can draw this part. Like that. I'm trying to get through this part, my friends, just so I can get to the part where I color it, because that's a really fun part of the process. And it really comes together really quick. And I'm getting really close. So what I'm going to do now is, just so I know where that blade's at, I'm going to duplicate the blade. What else do I have that's black? His mustache. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate his blade and flip it over there so I know where it's at. Yeah, that's good. Now I know when I'm drawing this brown stuff. I know where to draw and where not to draw. So like right here, I need to erase that part. Then I can start in here. And this will come down. And then we'll draw these elements, whether they're buckles or something, I don't know. They'll look cool gold, I know that. Alright, what was the question? Let me see here. What will the tuck box be like? So if you followed my stuff in past, for the Christmas deck of 2018, I did what was called Deck the Halls, and it was an embroidered tuck case where we actually did stitching and embroidery on it, and it looked really cool because the theme of the deck was like ugly Christmas sweaters. And that one actually, let me show it to you. Well, if I can get back to it here. This is the actual deck right here. So this is actually embroidered tuck case on all sides, thread. And so for my hope is, I don't want to make any promises just yet, but my hope is that the limited edition and gilded edition of this deck is going to be embroidered to look like I'll try to have a base texture of this kind of like linen fabric, and then the rest of it will be embroidered. Like I'll do a Robin Hood in this kind of stitching, and the Robin Hood or something will be actual embroidered. So it'll hopefully look like kind of this tapestry. That's what I'd like. That's gonna be very expensive just because of the low run, but I think it would just be really awesome. That's just my idea. And then the standard tuck case will just be something. It'll just be CMYK printed, and it'll look like the tapestry, but it'll just be printed instead of actual. Now, I have even thought about. I did if I can find it. I did this deck. This was my Arthurian deck right here. And it was kind of like a book. It's a hard case book. And it's kind of like a book. And so you open it up like that. And I have even thought about, because of the story, I have thought about doing that maybe for like the gilded edition. to where it says, you know, Robin Hood. And also, I think it would look nice. Look nice up against the Arthurian deck for those people that have that. I don't know. I'm still kind of think through that stuff. A lot of those kind of ideas kind of come together as I get the designs and stuff figured out. I just got one more arm to draw, and we should be good to start coloring. We'll see how this jewel goes. I may have to take out these kind of like these sidelines just to see. It may be too noisy. I may just have to put the jewel in there and that's it. But we'll be able to make that jewel nice. We can do like a cool green color. Alright, so let's go up here. We're really close. I'm going to go ahead and save so I don't crash. So we've gone about an hour. That's all right. Does everybody want me to keep going? I promise you, once I start coloring it, it goes really quick and it's really cool. I'm trying to get through this part. Alright, keep going. Alright, sweet. And what I'm doing, I mean, in terms of like Photoshop stuff, this is all really, really simple in terms of actually what I'm doing. I can definitely see a difference because I'm live streaming. Definitely going a lot slower, but I don't want to be griping or anything. Alright, I'm getting anxious because I really like coloring it, and I don't want to rush these stitches because I don't want it to look all Bush League. I just had that song stuck in my head. Dum 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 dum. Alright, what I do on the other arm? Let me make sure. I need to add the line right here. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited. Did I have that? No, it's just the boxes. I do want to put in his elbow patch too. I don't know if I've got enough room for that on the other one or not. Let's see here. Put a little band that I can do in gold or something. Let me see if I've got enough room for this. Yeah, I got enough room over here. It'll be tight, but I can get it in there. Take my artistic license. I'm going to save. Draw this line over here. Now, I'm not going to know that I'm going to put a second holding line on this. Oh, I forgot his hand. But I'm not going to do that right now, just so I can get to the drawing part, or the coloring part. Wes Parker, would his computer lag if it were Mac? No, my computer would not lag. This computer is probably equivalent to like a $14,000 Macintosh, and it did not cost me near that much. When I spend all day on a computer and my livelihood depends on it being fast and for me to be able to draw, I mean, it's not laggy. I mean, it's still working really fast, but I know when it's not going as fast as it usually is, but that's okay. I don't want this. Let me see here. Match up right there. Top comes out. Like that. Almost there, people. Now I'm going to just put I'm going to put a coin over here just to have a random, just to kind of break it up a little bit. And I think I'm going to have one, I think that's good. Alright, so from there, I'm just going to zoom back out. I'm going to make my drawing invisible. I feel good about that. Now I'm going to take my two brown layers. I'm not going to draw the other holding line right now just because it'll take me too long. It's just repeating itself. I'm just going to duplicate it, and I'm going to flip it around just so I've got it. And it'll show me any parts that I need to fix. That looks good. This is going to look great. This is going to look really good. And so see, I need to fix that jewel. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to erase one of them. And I'm just going to draw it. And then we'll add a line there, 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 there. All right. All right, so from here, I'm going to save. What inspired me to do a Robin Hood deck? Honestly, what inspired me is my love of both, mainly the Disney Robin Hood, my favorite Disney cartoon, and then the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. All right, so now I've got all my fabric pictures open. This is where the fun starts for me, at least. One thing I want to show you about the reference is, if you look at these, the way they did this, you can see that, let me just draw over this with a red color. What you can see is, if, like with King Harold here, this is his torso, and this is kind of like the direction of his torso, and then they would have these horizontal lines in the direction of the figure, and so like the same thing here, you would have this, and this is the direction of the figure, and so they would have these horizontal lines. And so my base texture that I use is this fabric here, is this kind of like thing here. And you can notice it has these horizontal lines and vertical lines. Now I could just copy this and paste it in there like this. I could take me a big section of this, copy, come back over, then I could paste it, but then all the lines, all these lines would be going, would be going in one direction. So like these are all going in one direction. And I don't necessarily want that. So what I want to do is I'm going to bring this And so what the part I'm going to do first is I'm gonna block in this area here just to start with, right here, and I want it to kind of go in a semicircle. So I want the threads of the stitching to kind of go like this, because that's what's going to make it look more natural and stuff like that. And so I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to go back to my texture here, bring it full go here, and I'm just going to take me a block about this big. I'm going to kind of put it, I'm going to bring down my opacity, I'm going to bring it underneath. I want to make sure that it's not in this folder because it'll just be cleaner. So now what? See, if I just left it like that, if you look at it here, if I just left it like that, all my stitches are vertical. Now I could get away with that, but it's not King's Wild. We don't want to just phone it in and just call it done. We want it to feel good. We want it to feel like that it actually was stitched. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, make sure. Now I'm going to use Puppet Warp, which is basically, it creates a mesh. So Puppet Warp, it creates a mesh right here. And now I'm going to use this mesh to bend this fabric to create that kind of ellipse. So I'm going to bring this, well actually first I'm going to come in here and I'm going to rotate it just a bit to just go ahead and help me a little bit. Kind of get it in the direction that I want to start going. And then now I'm going to go Puppet Warp. I'm going to pin these edges. What's going on? My computer's not liking something. Oh, it was doing it. Now it's definitely lagging. I can definitely feel it lagging now. Okay. Pin. Pin. Uh-oh. Does not like doing this Puppet Warp while I'm streaming. I hope it allows me to do it. What's going on? Well, crap. Won't even let me do it. Well, it was doing it. That sucks. I'm gonna have to go to different. Let me see. I'm gonna try one more time. It creates the mesh for me. That sucks. I don't know. I've never had this problem. I don't use Puppet Warp that much. See, it creates it, then it comes back. All right. I'm gonna have to go to something else for right now. Let's do a different color. Okay. So for the chainmail, like on his arm, I know that I have the background as black. So I'm just going to grab a section of my black, copy it, paste it. It's huge. I'm going to scale it down a smidgen. That's interesting. I've never had that problem before where it doesn't like it. I know that the Puppet Warp uses my GPU. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but all right. So I kind of got the black where I want it. So I'm just going to create a layer mask. I'm going to make it all invisible. Now I'm going to come back into that layer mask and I'm going to fill in this area here. With my black base. Man. It's super slow. So now I've got a black base for that. Now I'm going to go over here in my layers. Let's see. I have a light gray. Let me see. Is this my light gray? Nope, that's red. That's black. Black. brown. I must have deleted my gray layer. I need to open up my, I want to open up my Little John file and grab this layer right here, so you can kind of see this is my chainmail layer right here, and I just want to grab that layer and bring it over here just so I have those effects and it all matches up. Now I can close Little John. I'm going to just rename this Gray Chainmail. I'm going to label it gray. Select all, delete. Now I can go back in here, nice and tight, and then draw my chainmail. One thing I want to make sure before I get too far, I need to open up my Little John again. I want to make sure that I create, so I think that I made them a little bit too big. I want to just copy, this layer. I want to make sure that so these are this is my chainmail. So notice how these circles are bigger. I want to make sure that the scale of my chainmail is all about the same size. So I'm just going to take one of these right here. I'm going to copy it. Oops. Copy it and go onto my chainmail layer. Paste, and I'm going to bring it down here just like that, get it into place. Now I can delete this, and now I know that my chainmail is the right scale. Is anybody still watching? I'm kind of bummed that my puppet warp didn't work. Kind of lame. Present. That kid feels it. I love that. Alright, I'll do this chainmail, and then I won't do the other sleeve, just so I can show you guys. I won't do the other one, but there you kind of see, there's the chainmail. And then, just to really sell this home, I'll go underneath it with a new layer, like this. Man. I'll go underneath it with a layer, and I'll just kind of like just hand paint a shadow. But I want to make sure that that is all underneath my stitches. And I'll just paint a shadow. I choose where I want a light source to be, and then I just really roughly just paint a shadow in. that these stitches are casting on the underlying fabric. And it really it really sells them feeling like they're on this. And I'll kind of show you backing up. So like, see right there, there's with the shadow layer on. If I take it off, that shadow really just kind of sits it on there and makes it feel like that it's on there. Alright, so from here, I'm going to, let's see here. We'll make this background area, I'm going to make that green. I got a really nice green thing I want to use. Not that one, this one. So I'm going to take a huge chunk of this, like that, copy, come back, paste. It's huge. I'm going to scale it down. I don't want to scale it down too much because I don't want to make this detail any smaller because it's already going to be really small. So I can just cut out. I just know that it's big enough that I've got it wherever I want it, anywhere in the thing. So I'm going to create a mask. I'm going to paint out that mask. Now I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to randomly choose parts that I want to be that green color. So I'm going to come back in and paint into that mask. So we'll have this triangle. We'll make this triangle green. This one green. That one green. And we'll make his vest, or whatever this is. You know what? I don't want to make his vest green because Robin's is going to be green. There's a lot of green in Little John. Maybe I want to make his vest, the main part of his vest, like a gray color or something. So I'll make this little skirt thing he's got green. And then let's make his these elbow pads green. Like this. Okay. I just kind of make a, create a method to it and just work at it. Alright, that's good. Let's go ahead and do the low-hanging fruit and get the gold stuff. What pad do I use to draw? I use a Cintiq, a Wacom Cintiq to draw on. That's what I'm using now. So I'm going to paste this gold. I do want to shrink this a little bit because it's pretty noisy. And me shrinking it will take out some of that noise. I'm going to use a mask. And then I'm going to go in and paint my gold stuff. And me using these scanned textures that I have, and they're all the same color, it really locks in and creates a really good color scheme. And it also makes all the colors cohesive, and that way I can have different designs, and as long as I kind of use the basic structure, the structure and rules that I've created for the colors that I'm using. All the court cards can be very different in the way that I color them, but they'll all still feel very cohesive. It looks like I don't have any right there, so I'm going to have to paste another one over there. Elbow patches. I had me a jacket. I had a camel hair jacket when I was growing up. It was a camel hair dress coat, and it had elbow patches. I loved that thing. And if I wore that now, man, I would get some flack, Broheen. Get some flack. Now, I want to have some special elements like his buckle. That's going to be gold. I only have to do half of it because once I'm finished, it'll get duplicated. We'll do this part. We'll do this part gold. Ooh, emergency alert! Tornado warning in this area. 11:30 p.m. Take shelter now. Check media. I better figure out what's going on. Tornado warning means there's a tornado on the ground. Let me just check my... You'll have to pause. I want to be a responsible adult. Let's see. Peachtree City. 10 p.m. Thursday morning. Look at the students in your cold. Sorry, let me just check this right quick. I don't know. Looks pretty... It's not at me. I apologize for this. I just want to make sure that I'm... Do a tornado deck. Yeah. Let's see. It looks like I'm okay. We'll just keep going. Boy, that would suck, wouldn't it? I grew up in Tornado Alley, and I was in lots of tornadoes when I was a kid. So let's do every other one of these little blocks being gold. It would be epic if I kept drawing. That would not be good. I don't hear anything. It's making me nervous though. I was scared to death of tornadoes when I was a kid. Because we would always, I mean, we lived right in Tornado Alley. And we'd always have them. Nope, I don't want to do those gold. Those would be more fabric than metal. I do want to do, let's see here. I wanted to do these buckles. I want to do his cuff gold. Okay. All right. Now let's go with like a red. Let's do some red now. Get some red in there. Let's find our red. Green, green. Okay. Let's grab a chunk of our red. We're gonna do his sleeves red. We'll do his sleeves red. Kind of get it where I want it. We'll also do his part of his helmet red as well. There's those. Create a layer mask. And like I did with the chainmail, one thing that really helps at the end is that kind of that shadow layer that I paint in by hand. And that really just like locks everything in together. And it makes it look real nice. All right. I think that this, I feel like that this thing right here, I'll keep it. You just go ahead and paint the rest of this vest. Not like that. That's not what I want. I want to paint this layer. How old was I when you designed your first deck? I was 30. I was 31 when I designed my first deck of playing cards. All right, now let's make this gold, right? I mean this red here, this collar piece. How old was I when I realized you were an artist? Well, that's a funny story. Well, I don't know if it's funny or not. When I was 2 years old, I choked on a corn dog, and I ended up losing my right lung because of it. But with that came probably 9 to 10 months. I was 2 years old. With that probably came 9 to 10 months. I don't want that to be red because it should be metal. With that came about 9 months of me being in the hospital. And during that time, I didn't have anything else to do. I was just sitting there. And I remember vividly that James Bond reruns. I would watch just like James Bond marathons. And these are like Sean Connery and the original guys. I would just watch just James Bond marathons. And as I watched James Bond marathons, I would draw. Just draw whatever. I used to love, when I was a kid, I used to draw lots of tall ships and stuff like that. And that's when I started drawing. I'm going to take this fabric here that's green. I'm just going to make a new version of it, duplicate. I'm going to make it gray. Let's see. Let's go to a blue. Let's find a blue. Bring down the saturation a little bit, but still have a hint of blue. Bring up the lightness. Okay, let me hit the levels a little bit. This is going to be my steel color for my sword. Maybe. We'll see. Paste. It's huge. It's a little bit blue and dark. I kind of want to do almost like a silvery. Let me see if I can mess with it a little bit more. Let me bring down the saturation. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. Alright. Make sure that I've got enough to do the helmet. Let me just make it a little bit bigger. Alright. Now, create a mask. And then I will paint into the mask my metal parts, my armor. See, but your first deck of cards, congratulations. I was going to ask the same thing Parker did, and which deck did you get? So in my head, this is these. Obviously, his helmet is going to be metal, so we'll have this being metal. This metal. This could be hair or metal. I don't know. Let's just start with it being like a chainmail type thing that goes around protects his neck. I may make that a different color. And I can easily do that just to give a little breakup. I can make a new layer, put it on multiply, and just paint over it like this, and just darken it up a little bit. All right, and then this, we're going to go back to that metal layer, paint in this piece here. I'm going to go ahead and paint all of this steel as well, and then I'll go back and alternate the colors a little bit. What's wrong, sweetie? One second, baby. No, I'm not, baby. I'll come in there in just a little bit, okay? Thank you. All right, I'll be right there. I want to finish my drawings here. I don't know if I like that or not. I don't necessarily like that, so I'm gonna come back in here and take that out. I'm gonna save my original texture that I had in there. Let me see here. I'm just gonna erase that. I will make this the only thing that I'm not liking right now is this kind of breast area. There's just a lot of noise, and I know what I was trying to do with it, but it's just coming off as busy and noisy, and my brain is just having a hard time. I'm just distracted by it. So I'm gonna duplicate this layer just in case if I want to go back. But for now, I'm just gonna erase a lot of this. I'm just gonna simplify it a lot, and I think it's gonna help a lot of this form come back. And that way it'll just be like a nice solid red. And I think it's going to help make that sword pop better. And now I can go back to the red. See, Brad? Come back to the red area. Probably going to call it, fill this in all in with red. I may add like a seam or something, I don't know. But I already can tell that this is probably going to be filling a lot better. We need to add something in there for some kind of visual. But yeah, that feels good already. Now what I can do is can go back to this and I think what I'm gonna do is just a big boxy kind of shape. like that. And then erase this. And then let's make that, what we're going to do is we're going to go back, and this will be the last part I'm going to do because I'm going to call it. Let me just, let me knock in this bag right quick because it'll be super easy. Woo, it's raining. The wind blowing hard too. Maybe that tornado's coming now. Alright. So I think that's going to be all for tonight. You kind of see the process. But this is how I basically do this. And I'll just keep working at it. I'm going to go ahead and save it because I got a sneaking suspicion that my power's about to go out. So yeah, that's how I do it. That's how I do this kind of process. Let's see here. I think that's about it. Thanks for joining me tonight. I hope that was interesting. I wanted to finish it, but it kind of just took a little bit longer than I thought. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm probably going to take out some stuff like the red. I like red, the color red, and it's just making it feel like this guy's not a villain. So I may go back and give him more blacks and grays. But yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. So you guys have a nice night. Wow, it's really raining. So you guys have a nice night. Thanks for hanging out, and have a good night. See you guys.